for solving rational equations day 1, we are only going to have one fraction on each side. We're going to treat it like we would a proportion. When we get to tomorrow, there's going to be a third fraction involved. Then it gets a little more interesting. So, that, like I said, we're going to completely divide and conquer rather than going too crazy and try to do all of them at once. Okay, so method number 1 today. Condense it into a proportion, then cross multiply. If it's already in looking like a proportion, here's the only warning I have for you. If you see plus or minus, and it is not in parentheses like I am doing right now, you need to make sure it is. So, once you've made sure that part is good to go, now we should just be able to go into proportion mode. So, we go this way. And we're going to go this way. And now it's as simple as Algebra 1 stuff and working through with these. The only dilemma that you may have to watch out for occasionally is going to be the very last step. And I don't mean the very last step necessarily within the algebra part. It's more about making sure before you get here, when it says solve and then check your solutions, the biggest thing you need to check for in solutions is that you're not getting 0 in a denominator, because that's not defined. Do you have to check every single other thing that you do, though? No, you don't. Okay? So when it says check, we'll add a little something here. We're going to make sure the denominator doesn't equal 0. As long as that's true, you're going to be okay. Does that happen very often? Not really. Okay? So here, the only numbers that would cause us trouble would be 0 or 6. Well, I didn't get 0 or 6, so I feel pretty good. So you're like, there's got to be a catch to this, Hardy. There's got to be a catch. There is not a catch. We legitimately, with these, as long as we are good with our Algebra 1 skills, a little distributing and solving for an equation, we should be good on things. Now, the only thing I will say in regards to these is there going to be some possibilities of factoring showing up? Yeah, there is. And so, when we're working through these, always work on getting your variables together first. Got to do opposites. But again, as long as your answer, I don't think 59 minus 8 is 0. And I don't think 2 times 59 plus 1 is 0. As long as it's those things, you're good. So far so good with these as we're working our way along. Here comes twist number 1. There's 2. We're dealing with the first one. So we bump up a little bit here on page 18. R times R is R squared. Come in here the other way. If you have a squared term, like we do here, not going to square root. I like the concept. But if there is an R squared, everything needs to go to that R squared side, because we're going to get stuck factoring. So here, I'm going to do the opposite of both of these. Because I need those to go away and just be 0. There's a 0 there still. Because once I get everything together on one side, now I'm going to be able to go back in and factor this. At least cross our fingers. Hopefully factor this. So I get those in. I need two numbers that multiply to, nice, that multiply to positive 4 and add up to negative 4. 2 and 2 does the job. And since they're the same exact quantity, the same exact set of parentheses, I really don't need to do it twice. And I just quickly make sure 2 minus 1 is not 0. 2 is not 0. So the one answer that I did get works. Okay, and I'm okay. Always just checking that one thing out. So you're like, okay, Hardy, we get the message here. Ooh. Ooh. Now I look at this one. Now this is a little more interesting. 8 times 3 is 24. Okay. On the other side, we've got two quantities. So we have to FOIL this out. Now when I say FOIL, it doesn't mean m squared minus 6. I just do those. When I'm doing this, that m has to go to both the m and the minus 2. And then I do my 3 times the m and the 3 times the negative 2. If you can do that in your head and combine like terms and do it all in one step, that's fine. But otherwise, get those comboed up. Just like we had over here, if you have a squared term, everything needs to be over on the squared side. So everything's finally together. Got to go into factoring mode again. Again, the multiply sheets could come in handy with something like this. Your calculator could as well. Okay? We multiply to a negative, so it's one of each sign. 5 and 6 will get me to that 1. And since the plus tells me the sign of the bigger number, and we set each of those equal to 0. Yes, you can have more than one answer. It is a possible thing. And I should have, before I circled 3. Negative 6 minus 2, that's not 0. 5 minus 2, okay, they both work. They both work. That's cool. One more that I want to do with you together before we kind of get you set with these and off to the races. I got to get one that's going to have slide and divide at least. Just one. So you're like, all right, that's the easy cross. That's 6. This one, a little more complex. So let's take a peek. Same idea as the one right above it. Okay, we've got to go ahead. We've got to get things distributed here. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 4 is 8x. And then distribute your negative 3 to the x. And negative 3 times 4. And that's the nice thing with examples. Sometimes your examples can directly tell you what to do, basically step by step. As long as you're careful with your signs. Okay, so since we're not doing 5, I'm going to kind of cut this off. I'm going to take some of this room over. I need, before I factor this, I almost got ahead of myself. You got to get that 6 over. So negative 12 minus 6, I owe my friend $12. I borrow 6 more, I owe 18. Now I'm going to scooch over here into this extra area. Because I got a little slide and divide going on here because that number's in front and all of my terms don't have something in common. So we're going to multiply that 2 down. Bless you. Which now makes this like a regular old factoring problem like we've done in the last couple. Okay? 9 times 4 definitely gets me to 36. And then there it is. Positive 9. Negative 4 gets me to 5. But don't forget that 2 that we dealt with before. If it goes nicely in, great, we'll get that done. If it doesn't go in nicely, whoops, try it again. And we math enter, and it's still the same fraction, and it is with 9 over 2. Just slide that 2 back to the front. So there's my factored version of this. And so once we're there, the last part of my problem is to take each of those sets of parentheses and set them equal to 0. And yes, you can get fractions and decimals for answers. I'm sticking to a fraction. If you did negative 4.5, that's fine. Oh, all the blessings out there. Allergy season is still here. And again, the only number that would have caused a problem here is negative 4. So like I said, for today, that's going to get me to the place that I need enough. Tomorrow we'll add the third fraction and kind of see where that goes from there. So I'm going to hold this just a second here. I got to sneak this out. Ooh. Did I just do something that I shouldn't have done? Let's see. Oh, I got to do one. That's all right. I got to do one more. Because I did a boo-boo. I'm just looking to see, can I get away with doing that one? Yeah, I can get away with doing that one. Okay. We're heading to the back. The back of the note sheet, because I forgot one thing. I didn't notice it till just now. Okay. Last one, number 7. So you're like, wait, that's a third fraction. It is. When we get back here, hang on. I'm not going to cut this all the way down to 4 problems and have us piddling around for 20 minutes. So I'm only going to do one. So when we get back here, we need an LCD. Now, we remember back to when we did the quiz on this, and it was like, Hardy, this is awful. This is difficult. Because we kept talking about how there were 3 things we need to look at. Well, today was only 2. Okay, we need the largest common factor. What does that mean again, Hardy? That means, like on 7, if I started to count by 3s and 6s, what's the first number that's going to show up in both lists? 6. And then I also have to look at if there's more than 1, the smallest exponent on a variable that you have. Well, here that's pretty easy. That's the only one. So my LCD would be 6n. I almost put 6x. Did not do it, though. So here's how that's going to work. You're like, are we going to have to build fractions? No, we're not. This is going to make all the fractions go away, actually. So here's how this works. We're going to multiply everything by 6n. So, if I start to distribute, okay, you're going to multiply 6n by whatever's on top. So 6n times 4 would be 24n over 3. And we distribute here. 7 times 6n is 42n. You leave the denominator alone. Haven't done anything with it yet. And then finally, 1 times 6n is 6n over 6. You're like, Hardy, that still looks like fractions. Well, it won't, because 24 divided by 3 is 8. Here the n's cancel, and here the 6's cancel. I guess I could make it 1 if I wanted to. That's the whole idea of multiplying by an LCD. Because here, then when we get there, now it's just, we're back to Algebra 1 again. We're going to get all our n's together. And remember, we're not adding 7 to both sides. That's multiply by negative 7. And since that 6 doesn't cause a 0, we're good. That's the only catch that we can run into with these. So, now I can get that back. If I do more than one of them. All right, here's what we're going to do. I had to figure out what adjustment I was going to make. I got the idea now. All right, so day 1. Page 9. 1 through 6 and 8. Hardy, why are you skipping 7? Because we haven't played with other exponents down there yet. I don't want to do stuff we haven't done. So page 9, 1 through 6 and 8, and then we will add tomorrow, adding and subtracting into the fractions. We'll add the third piece and go from there.